Federal employees and service members across the board face challenging times. Sailors and Marines sometimes face special challenges when they return home or they're still away at sea. That's where the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society comes in. It's now accepting applications for the 2025-26 Education Grants Program. Joining me in studio with more, the Society's Chief Operations Officer, retired Rear Admiral Don Cutler. Admiral Cutler, good to have you in.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me here today.
And just give us the short version of what the Relief Society is all about to begin with.
Sure. So the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, our mission is to build financial stability and well-being for our sailors, Marines, and their families. And so since 1904, we've been providing a lifeline with financial assistance, counseling, and emergency relief in times of need.
And what are you seeing in trends of what people need, what is stressing service members at sea and the seagoing services at this time?
Well, our service members are experiencing many of the same things that average Americans are experiencing: high cost of living, high cost of groceries at the store, gas, that type of thing. So if you take a look at where our Navy and Marine Corps bases are, they're in some pretty high-cost areas. San Diego, Pacific Northwest, Jacksonville. So the cost of living really impacts them significantly. Just imagine if you're out on the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group right now. They're operating in the Middle East. I mean, their ships are defending against drone attacks and that type of thing. So,
and have been for a long time.
And they have been for several months, absolutely. And so you're at a heightened state of operations, oftentimes at what the Navy calls general quarters, right? So things are very tense. We need our sailors and Marines really focused on the mission. Imagine you're in a state of constant general quarters, heightened state of anxiety, intensity, and you get a note from home like, hey, our only car, the engine blew up. I don't know what to do. What happens to that sailor or Marine when they get that news? Well, they're now no longer focused on their mission at hand. They're worried about the family back home. And that's where we come in. We are that lifeline for those families. And so it's really important, particularly for at the pre-deployment stage, that we let our sailors and Marines and their families know, hey, we're here when deployments happen. We got to make sure we've got, power of attorney so that spouse can come to us and say, hey, I need a zero-interest loan to repair the car so I can continue living my life. And the sailor that's deployed can continue focusing on the mission.
And give us a sense of the scope of how many people you help in a given year, because the Navy and Marine Corps, amounts to a lot of people.
It does amount to a lot of people. So in 2024, we had over 208,000 sailors and Marines and their families got some kind of assistance from Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. Now, not all that was financial. About 48,000 of those clients received some type of financial assistance, whether that's a zero-interest loan. We never charge fees or interest. Mm-hmm. It could be a grant. It could be a loan grant mix. So that's the financial piece. And then we have other programs and services such as our education assistance program, which helps with scholarships. We have the visiting nurse program, which provides health education to families in their home. Think of a new mom, and maybe she's needing a little bit of help with this being a first-time mom, and she's got no family around.
And a blown-up engine.
And the blown-up engine, exactly. We also have thrift shops on many of our bases that offer uniforms and clothing and household items at very affordable prices. So it helps them stretch their dollars. And so we provide a variety of services available for sailors, Marines, and their families. And again, it's active duty and retired.
We're speaking with retired Rear Admiral Don Cutler. She's the Chief Operations Officer of the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. And tell us about the education grants for which you are accepting applications right now.
Sure. So our education assistance program is available to spouses and children of active duty and retired sailors and Marines. And so we just opened up our window to accept applications. We will accept them through May 15th. So this is an opportunity for these clients, if they need some help seeking their education, going to grad school for a spouse. That was a fairly recent change in our policy in 2019. We made master's degrees assistance for master's degrees available. And so we're really trying to help the families achieve their education goals. And so the grants range between $500 and $3,000 depending on need of the individual. And so we take in these applications, we look at the needs, we look at the cost of attendance, we run it through a formula, and we rack and stack, and then we offer grants to those individuals. And we also offer zero interest loans for those who are interested in pursuing that path. We do loans up to $4,000 for the upcoming educational year. There's a couple of different ways that we can help families out in that way.
Right. And what about K through 12 education? Is that part of the program? Do you ever get calls for that?
It's not part of the program. This is for undergrad and graduate for spouses.
And given the cost of some four-year schools nowadays, or I guess even community colleges, it seems like a drop in the bucket in some ways.
It does seem like a drop in the bucket. It is very expensive. However, we have a lot of clients who are looking for every dime that they can get. And so we, again, look at their needs. We look at the cost of attendance, and we try to divvy up the pot as best as we can. I will say our program has been limited to about $500,000 per year that we have allocated to give to the education grants. It would be wonderful if we had some donors who are interested in supporting education. And it used to be several years ago, we had funds, restricted funds, that were given by donors specifically for education. And so once we can build that fund back up, we'll be able to support more of the needs. We would really love to do that.
And that's where your development department comes in. But who are the sources of funds for the society in general? Don't need to name names.
Sure. We have our general contributions, which come in a variety of ways through campaigns throughout the year, online. We just completed this past weekend our Navy Marine Corps Ball, which is a big fundraiser for us. And we're also in the middle of what we call the active duty fund drive season. So every March through April is an opportunity for active duty sailors and Marines to donate to help out their own. They call it a buy our own, for our own kind of campaign. So it's a program. There's a Secretary of the Navy instruction for it that tells the Navy and Marine Corps how to execute it. And Navy Marine Corps Relief Society are the beneficiaries of those funds, and it helps us provide that financial assistance at no fees, no interest, to help out their shipmates.
What about corporate or some of the big contractors? I guess they have a lot of asks that come before them every year.
Sure. Seeking corporate and foundational kinds of funds is fairly new for us. Up until about 5 years ago, we relied strictly on retiree fund drive, active duty fund drive, bequests, and general contributions. We have senior 4 and 3 stars on our board. And so there was some concern from the legal community that if we were fundraising going out to corporations, that there might be some
industry, shipbuilding or
perception of inappropriateness or that kind of thing. And so there was a really strong firewall put up to prevent us from doing that. And as the active duty fund drive revenue had been decreasing over 10 years, our board decided, hey, we got to do some other things. So they've authorized us to go what we call outside the gate fundraising. So it's a fairly nascent capability for us. We just hired our fundraiser a mere 4 or 5 years ago. And so we're growing that capability to be able to get out and seek those funds so that we can offer the services to meet the needs that our sailors, Marines, and their families have right now.
Retired Rear Admiral Don Cutler is Chief Operations Officer of the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And we'll post this interview along with a link to more information at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.